This is not a typical mansion. Instead of spreading everything across one massive floor, this home is built vertically. Each level has a clear purpose, and the design gets more private as you move upward. That single decision changes how the entire house works. In this video, you're not just looking at beautiful rooms. You'll see why spaces are placed where they are, how materials are repeated to keep the design clean, and what actually makes an interior feel expensive without adding clutter. We'll walk through the main hall, living areas, bedrooms, bathrooms, and outdoor spaces, and I'll explain the design logic behind each one. If you care about luxury homes, interior design, or understanding what separates real high-end spaces from surface-level decoration, this video will make sense from start to finish. Let's start from the overall layout and work our way inside. Before we go any further, one quick thing to be clear about. This mansion is a concept. It's fictional. It doesn't exist in the real world. But the design thinking behind it is very real, and that's what we're focusing on. Now, let's talk about the idea that shapes this entire home. Instead of spreading outward, this mansion is designed vertically. That choice alone solves several problems that large homes usually struggle with. When everything sits on one wide floor, privacy gets messy, movement feels inefficient, and noise travels everywhere. This layout avoids that. The lower levels are more public. This is where shared spaces live. The main hall, formal living areas, places meant for hosting and interaction. These floors are open, connected, and designed to handle activity without feeling chaotic. As you move upward, the home gradually becomes more private. Semi-private floors sit in the middle, spaces meant for daily living, quieter lounges, and areas used by the residents themselves. These levels act as a buffer, keeping the busiest areas below and the most personal spaces above. At the top, the design becomes fully private. Bedrooms, suites, and personal spaces are placed here for a reason. Higher elevation means less noise, more control over light, and a stronger sense of separation from the rest of the house. This vertical zoning improves how the house feels to live in. Movement becomes intentional. You're not crossing the entire mansion just to change moods or activities. Each floor has a role, and you feel that shift as you move through the home. Light is handled the same way. Open, shared areas are designed to pull in as much natural light as possible, while private spaces use controlled lighting for calm and rest. Noise follows a similar logic. Social energy stays where it belongs, and quiet spaces stay protected. This is what real luxury looks like at the planning level. But clarity, knowing where things belong, and designing the house around how people actually live. Next, we'll step into the first physical space you experience when entering the mansion. The main hall, and why its proportions and material choices matter more than any decoration ever could. As you enter the mansion, the first thing that becomes clear is scale. Not because it's exaggerated, but because it's controlled. The ceiling here is intentionally high. Height creates breathing room. It allows the space to handle movement, sound, and light without feeling crowded. In a large home, low ceilings make everything feel heavy. Here, the proportions do the opposite. They keep the space open without making it feel empty. The materials are chosen for the same reason. Stone is used where the structure needs visual weight and stability. It grounds the space and gives it permanence. Wood appears in areas that need balance and warmth without decoration. And metal is used sparingly, mostly in details, to keep edges clean and precise. All of these are working together to create a design order. That's the difference between a grand entrance and an oversized one. Lighting follows a similar logic. During the day, natural light does most of the work. Large openings and vertical sight lines allow light to move through the hall instead of stopping at one point. This reduces the need for artificial lighting. At night, the lighting becomes layered. There's ambient light to define the space, softer lighting to highlight textures, and focused lighting only where it's actually needed. What's important here is continuity. The entrance doesn't feel like a separate statement piece. The materials, ceiling rhythm, and lighting choices connect directly to the rest of the mansion. This hall sets the rules that every other space follows. That's why the main hall works. It doesn't announce luxury. It establishes structure, and everything beyond it stays consistent with that structure. From here, the home opens into the formal living areas, where that same discipline is applied to comfort, seating, and everyday use. That's where we'll go next. The living room is where this mansion shows restraint. Furniture is placed to define zones, not to fill every corner. Seating is arranged with clear walking paths, open sight lines, and enough distance for the room to breathe. Color stays controlled. You're not seeing loud contrasts or trendy tones. Instead, similar shades repeat across walls, upholstery, and flooring, with texture doing most of the work. Smooth surfaces sit next to softer materials, creating depth without visual noise. Scale matters here. The room feels grand because elements are sized correctly, not because there are more of them. Symmetry keeps everything balanced, and the layout feels calm the moment you step in. Large openings connect the lounge directly to the outdoors. Views become part of the room, which reduces the need for decoration inside. That's the real lesson here. Luxury living rooms are edited, not decorated. The dining area sits exactly where it should, between the kitchen and the main lounge. That placement isn't about convenience alone. It keeps movement natural. Food comes in from one side, conversation flows in from the other, and nothing feels disconnected. This space isn't treated as a showpiece. It's designed to be used every day. The table is sized to fit the room, not to dominate it. Chairs are comfortable enough for long meals, not just good-looking for photos. There's enough clearance around the table so people can move freely without disrupting others. Lighting is handled with restraint. A focused light sits directly over the dining table, giving it presence without flooding the entire room. Around it, softer ambient lighting keeps the space balanced and relaxed. Materials here are chosen to last. Solid wood, natural stone, and subtle metal details that won't feel outdated in a few years. Surfaces that age well and look better over time. This is the social core of the home. Practical, calm, and designed for real moments, not staged ones. The kitchen in this mansion shows how luxury and practicality can coexist. It's designed for smooth workflow. Counters, prep zones, and storage are arranged so movement feels effortless, whether cooking alone or with help. Storage is mostly hidden. Cabinets and drawers blend with the walls, keeping the space uncluttered. Appliances are integrated seamlessly. You notice their function, not the brand. The layout prioritizes efficiency. The sink, stove, and fridge are positioned to minimize unnecessary steps. Even small details like countertop heights and clearance around islands are considered for daily use. Minimal design makes the kitchen look expensive. Fewer visible objects, carefully chosen materials, and subtle textures all combine to give a sense of calm control. A kitchen like this isn't flashy. It's quiet, efficient, and functional, which is the real definition of luxury. Moving up to the private floors, the bedrooms and suites show how luxury shifts from public display to personal comfort. Here, design is about function, privacy, and quiet control rather than flashy features. The master suite sits at the top level, separated from other bedrooms. It's planned with distinct zones, one for sleeping, one for sitting or reading, and another for dressing. Each zone is sized appropriately, so the room feels spacious without feeling empty. Guest rooms follow the same principle, but they're slightly smaller and more efficient, giving visitors privacy while keeping them connected to the home's flow. Lighting is carefully considered. General lighting keeps the room bright when needed, while task lighting supports reading or dressing. Subtle layering ensures that you can adjust light without overpowering the space. The color palette is restrained. Soft, neutral tones dominate, supporting calmness and visual continuity across the home. Warm and cool lights are balanced to suit both day and night use. Sound insulation is key. Walls, floors, and doors are planned to minimize noise from other floors. Bedrooms are placed away from high-traffic areas, and closets or corridors act as buffers where necessary. Privacy is maintained not only visually but acoustically. Storage is integrated into the walls and cabinetry, keeping surfaces free of clutter. Every element has a purpose, which allows the space to feel organized and controlled. Even materials are chosen for durability and timeless appeal rather than trendiness. The bathrooms in this mansion continue the theme of quiet luxury. They're designed to feel spacious and functional without turning into a spa or an over-the-top display. Every detail has a purpose. Materials flow naturally from the bedrooms, maintaining continuity in color, texture, and tone. Stone, wood, and subtle metal accents create a sense of quality without being loud. This consistency makes the spaces feel connected rather than separate rooms tacked on for effect. Lighting is layered for both function and comfort. Bright light is available where tasks require it, like mirrors and counters, while softer ambient light helps the space remain calm. Storage is integrated into cabinetry and hidden niches, keeping surfaces clean and uncluttered. Clean lines and organization signal luxury as much as expensive materials do. The takeaway here is simple. High-end bathrooms don't need flash or gimmicks. They feel expensive because they're functional, clean, and thoughtfully designed. In a vertical mansion, how you move between floors is just as important as the rooms themselves. Stairs aren't just a way to get up and down. They're part of the architecture. Wide treads, proper rise, and clear sight lines make movement effortless, while design details remain subtle and purposeful, not decorative. Corridors and hallways are treated the same way. They're not empty afterthoughts. Instead, they act as visual breathing space between rooms. The width, lighting, and alignment of these pathways maintain flow and ensure the mansion never feels cramped or confusing. Vertical movement feels smooth because each transitional space is planned. Floors connect logically, and movement from public to private zones happens naturally. This level of thought is often overlooked, but it's what makes a large home feel coherent instead of chaotic. In a well-designed mansion, transitions aren't noticeable. They just work, guiding you seamlessly through the space. The outdoor spaces of this mansion are an extension of the interior design rather than separate showpieces. Balconies and terraces follow the same clean lines and material choices as the inside, creating a sense of continuity. The goal isn't to fill space with decoration, but to create areas that feel purposeful and visually connected to the home. Landscaping is minimal but deliberate. Lawns, planting beds, and pathways are planned to frame views, guide movement, and provide subtle boundaries without overwhelming the design. Every plant, surface, and pathway is intentional. Nothing is random. Seating areas are positioned to maximize interaction with the surrounding space. Outdoor furniture follows the same proportions and color palette as the interior, keeping the visual flow consistent. The pool is treated as an architectural feature rather than a flashy attraction. Its edges align with sight lines, and materials echo the tones used inside. Privacy is carefully considered. Outdoor spaces are oriented for views without compromising seclusion. Here, luxury comes from clarity, coherence, and purposeful design, not excess or gimmicks. Looking at this mansion, one thing becomes clear. Real luxury isn't about size, flashy furniture, or gimmicks. It comes from thoughtful layout, careful material choices, and controlled proportions. Every space, from the main hall to the bedrooms and outdoor areas, is planned with purpose. That's what makes a home feel expensive without feeling overdone. A common mistake people make when copying luxury designs is piling on trends, oversizing furniture, or adding decorative elements that don't serve a function. Excess distracts from how a space actually works. True high-end design relies on restraint, clarity, and intentionality. So if there's one takeaway, it's this: luxury works best when it's quiet, functional, and consistent. If you enjoyed this walkthrough and want more insights into stunning home designs, make sure to subscribe to Forma Homes. You'll get ideas, tips, and concepts for modern luxury living delivered straight to your feed.